Hello, my name is Kurt Johnson, and this is my presentation for professional communication in the engineering field. The first thing I would like to talk about is the engineering field itself. There are four key points that you use as an engineer in my program of mechanical design, and that is draft, design, prototype, and build. So first off, you start off by drafting up whatever you want to, whether it's going to be on paper or on a small system on your computer, such as a CAD program. And after that, you're going to design it in full. So you're going to use a lot more detail in your designs. Usually it's going to be in a CAD program so you can share files with other people to help tweak and help the design process of it. After that, you're going to be using prototyping, which you usually use cheaper materials such as 3D printers, plastics, and aluminum to design a functioning model of whatever it is you're trying to design for either a client or for whatever you're trying to build for yourself. And then after you get that working in a manner where you like it, you can use stronger materials or materials that are a little bit more expensive for the final build, or you can put it into an assembly line after you get it all set up and it'll have the client's um, project being built on mass production. Secondly, the thing I wanted to talk about is my preliminary plan that I used to gather research for the project. Um, First, I wanted to talk to people that were already in the field so I could get the most up-to-date and useful information that I could come across, which the two people I want to talk to the most is Keith Perry and John Wickstrom, because they've both been in the field for 15 to 20 years each. And then Glenn Buschendorf, which is a professor here at UW Stout that teaches a lot of my classes that I'm going to be using. He also works in the summertime out in the as field of study. And then Joe Brown, a friend of mine who's at his internship right now. Something else that I looked into was the library scholarly search online, and then also going to the library and looking for engineering books that talk about communication. When doing my research, whether it's going to be talking to people or looking for things in the books or in the library, I wanted to focus on two main points of communication that we'll be using as engineers, which is verbal when you're talking to clients, other coworkers, or people that are going to be helping you build your designs, and also the written portion of it when you might be a little bit like a few states away or even a continent away when you're designing something for a company and you need to talk more so through email or even your notes about your projects. If you're working for a larger company, there's always possibilities where you will be taken off your project at a random point in time, and you need to be able to have good communication skills in your notes so people know exactly where you left off and how everything's supposed to be working and functioning so that they can pick up where you left off. On this slide is my research process, which is what I use to gather the majority of my information for my infographic on the field of communication. Main people I talked to is John Wickstrom, Joe Brown, Glenn Buschendorf, and Carl Trost. You'll notice that there aren't any library articles or any book sources here, for I gathered most of the information from these people, and it was very up to date. I looked into some of the books, but most of the books didn't have too much on the communication aspect of engineering field, and so I decided just to go with what I learned from the people who've been in the field for multiple years. Um, First one, John Wickstrom and Glenn Buschendorf kind of gave the same parameters when talking to people face to face or over the phone. As if they are an engineer, you can use more so the lingo used in creating stuff, such as CAD programs and stuff. But if on the business side, they won't know the engineering lingo as much, so use more non-specific terms and general ideas so they can easily understand what you're trying to talk about and what you're trying to explain. Joe Brown and Carl Trost are talked more so about the written portion of the communication, and their general aspect was to give a lot of detail in your reports and on your notes so people can easily pick up where you left off. And more so email wise, they talked about how you're supposed to talk short, simple, very bullet point more so worthy unless you're trying to give a full like field report to someone, but to mainly keep it short and sweet. On this slide is my initial infographic that I sketched up and put together for our project. Some of the pros and cons that I got based off of the feedback underneath my discussion post. Some of the pros are a good setup, easy to read, and draws attention in the way that it's not overwhelming and you can probably skim through it in about 2 to 3 minutes, depending on how fast you read. Um, but some of the cons for having a more simplistic um, setup is that there's not a whole lot of information on like the engineering portion of it. Lacks industry terms, which I did on purpose actually, because I didn't want too many terms in there to be confusing for people who have no idea what CAD systems are or anything along those lines, and that I need more content, which for the final draft, I believe I'm going to be splitting up the communication into the written and verbal sections. That way you can have a little bit more information on how to go after each of those sections of the communication. Thank you for listening to my presentation on the communication in the engineering field, and I look forward to hearing any reviews and tweaks that you would recommend for me. Thank you.